Hello, my name is Robert Morgan, and I'm a nurse practitioner here at Kingwood Health Wellness. I've been a nurse practitioner for 17 of the 27 years that I have been practicing, and my focus is on hormone therapy and primarily thyroid. The thyroid controls the entire body, and every system in our body actually depends on proper thyroid functioning. In part 1, I discussed many of the problems associated with hypothyroidism. Today I want to go over a brief history of thyroid treatment. I'm going to go kind of fast, but hopefully you will get the gist of things. So why is it that so many millions of people who have all these thyroid symptoms and low thyroid levels can't get treated by their doctor? The answer is really quite simple. Medical school does not teach the basics of aging and symptoms of just getting older. Medicine focuses primarily on disease processes. Now, the treatment of thyroid disorders actually dates back to 2700 BC when the Chinese used seaweed to treat goiter. And of course, at that time, there were no labs. Now, we make a big jump to the year 961, which is when the first description of thyroidectomy or removal of the thyroid for goiter was described. It wasn't until 1475 that goiter was treated with minced thyroid. Seaweed still remained the treatment of choice for hypothyroid symptoms until 1811. In 1500, Leonardo da Vinci was the first person to recognize and draw the thyroid gland. It wasn't until 1656 that Thomas Wharton actually named the gland thyroid after the shape of an ancient Grecian shield. In 1802, a personal physician of Pope Pius VII described an association of palpitations, goiter, and bulging of the eyes, which are symptoms of hyperthyroid. Then, in 1811, a man by the name of Bernard Courtois discovered iodine, and the same year, Joseph Lussac actually named the vapors that Bernard discovered iodine, which is from the Greek word for violet. 9 years later, in 1820, doctors started treating goiter with iodine. Also in 1820, a man named Humboldt noted that the incidence of goiters decreased when individuals moved from endemic areas to non-endemic areas. This is actually very important because it's the first time that geographic areas have been implicated in thyroid dysfunction. So the very next year, in 1825, a French chemist detected that there was actually iodine in the natural salt mines in the Andes. He then recommended iodinated salt to prevent and treat endemic goiter. So the next time you look at a container of Morton salt, just imagine that the idea of putting iodine and salt together originated in 1825. Now, 10 years later, in 1835, Robert Graves is given credit for describing a syndrome of palpitations, goiter, and exophthalmos in 3 of his female patients. But if you remember, I said in 1802, the Pope's personal physician actually described the exact same thing. So I'm not saying that Robert Graves stole the ideal, but he definitely reinforced that this was a syndrome. In 1860, Dr. Virchow suggested that cretinism and goiter are related, and total thyroidectomies were performed in animals. Then in 1862, Dr. Trousseau introduced the term Graves' disease in honor of Robert Graves. Some 21 years later, Kocher recognizes myxedema occurring after thyroidectomies. 1883, Heinrich Bircher recognized association of endemic goiter with geologic features characteristic of quaternary glaciation, which simply refers to the ice age, and the shifting of the ice sheets, which in turn created erosions of land and deposits of material over different continents. So what's being figured out is that different parts of the country and different parts of the world actually don't all have the same amount of iodine in the soil and water. The next year, in 1884, the first reports of a thyroidectomy being performed for the treatment of Graves' disease were noted. In 1891, Dr. Murray introduced the use of thyroid extract to treat myxedema. Myxedema is just another term for severe hypothyroidism, and a lot of times the patient is really bad. They have swelling of the face, the lips, the eyelids, the skin tone. The skin can be really thick, and it actually can become a medical emergency when someone falls into what's called a myxedema coma. That is just the thyroid levels are so low that your body can't sustain itself. The patient will typically have respiratory depression, low body temperature, confusion, mental slowness, low blood oxygen levels, high blood carbon dioxide levels, and eventually shock and seizures. Now, in the same year, it was reported that osteoporosis was being noted in hyperthyroidism. always known as Graves' disease now. Now, from what I found, in 1891, Dr. George Murray started using thyroid extract from slaughtered sheep and began injecting his patients with subcutaneous thyroid extract. And the patients did get better for a while, but then some of them died suddenly from cardiac failure, more than likely heart attacks. This was the start of using natural desiccated thyroid in the treatment of hypothyroidism. In 1895, Dr. Adolph Levy describes the influence of thyroid on the basal metabolic rate, which only makes sense because when you have a low thyroid level, you can go into a myxedema and die when the body is shut down. And when you have a high thyroid level, you can have palpitations, goiter, and bulging of the eyes. In 1896, it is discovered that iodine is a natural constituent of the thyroid, and it's named iodothyron. So they basically combined the terms iodine and thyroid. In 1898, thyrotoxicosis is described, and it suggests that excess thyroid hormone produces Graves' disease. Now we're starting to see a shift from concentrating on hypothyroid to hyperthyroid and Graves' disease. And in 1905, Dr. Abb began treating Graves' disease by implanting radium into the patient's goiters. In 1907, two things happened. When Dr. Marine recommended treating Graves' disease with iodine, and then he published that iodine is necessary for thyroid function. Well, I know you've heard of the Mayo Clinic, right? In 1910, the term hyperthyroidism was introduced by Dr. Charles Mayo for the clinical conditions of exophthalmos, goiter, adenoma. So here we go. In 1911, Doctors Marine and Linhart described hyperthyroidism due to Graves' disease. So you see how the shift is changing to focus more on hyperthyroid because